What's up, everybody? How are you doing? Welcome to the Turnover Tours. I am your host, Sir Random Guy, and I got one thing left. I got one thing to say. With all my years watching basketball, enjoying the moments, enjoying the chaos of it, after last night, there's one thing I gotta say. LeBron, we're good, bro. Cade got us. All right? Cade got us because the Detroit Pistons on Monday night at Little Caesars Arena put belt to ass on the New York Knicks. That's right. The New York Knicks. The Knicks, believing that they are the better team, believing that they will run the East. Guess what? Detroit runs the East. That is my PSA for this one. But anyways, we are now finally done with the regular season in the NFL. This was probably one of the most chaotic seasons to ever watch. One of the most fun seasons to watch in the NFL season. We had teams go down. We had teams rise up to the occasion. We have teams still in question if they are legit. But all this will finally decide who will win the Lombardi and in February. Alright, but but before we start with our NFL playoff predictions, since there's not really a lot of games to go on, let's go over the Black Monday. Starting with the first firing off the board. Raheem Morris finishes time in Atlanta with a 16-18 record, 8-9 seasons, back-to-back years. And when Raheem Morris got hired, I saw this was going to go two ways. One was either that maybe they could win the NFC South. They probably have a chance to win a fairly weak division, and they could take advantage of it, especially with signing Kirk Cousins, and having the pieces with Drake London, Bijan Robinson. Hopefully Kyle Pitts finally emerges as the tight end we fantasy owners expect him to be. And last year, the offense wasn't too much of an issue until like the latter half when Kirk Cousins was injured and starting out to play his great ball. And then after that, Michael Penix showed some flashes at the time, so there was potential for the offense with Penix, but their defense was just hot garbage. They fired defensive coordinator from last year, and they brought in Jeff Ulbrich, who was the former defensive coordinator for the Jets and interim head coach at the time from last season in 24. But this season, the defense was pretty decent. There's some pieces they have some pieces they do have in James Pierce Jr. They drafted Jalen Walker, of course, there's Jesse Bates, veteran leader, and AJ Terrell as well. So their defense has shown up. I feel like they did, and the Falcons were looking like they were going to be up, but again, the offense just did not click. Zach Robinson wasn't doing well. I think Raheem Morris was just felt like he was just getting outmatched. It just felt like the game wasn't going for him. But now, not only did they fire Raheem Morris, they also fired Terry Fontenot, the former Falcons GM. And they also let go Rich McKay, which that's also apparently going to be, it's also a positive move for the Falcons. And now there's been rumors that Matt Ryan might take over an executive role for the Falcons. So we'll see how that goes. But right now there's GM open spots and head coaching spots for the Atlanta Falcons right now. And I think pretty much for Terry Fontenot for his firing, definitely for sure was the Kirk Cousins massive contract signing, believing that he was going to be the guy. And then, of course, they did draft Michael Penix Jr. into last year's draft, which, was still up in the air about him. Let's see how he does for the rest of his career, but hopefully he gets recovers well from his injury, and then of course giving away a first round pick to the to a now current potential Super Bowl contender in the LA Rams. So so there is that. Now now the next firing we saw was head coach Kevin Stefanski. Stefanski's now going. Kevin Stefanski's out of Cleveland after spending 6 seasons in there and got into the playoffs both times. Won Coach of the Year in both of those times as well. And this firing, it felt like it was expected. It was coming up. I think I think it felt like how they handled the quarterback situation this past year. Of course, last year was a terrible season as well. And now I mean, I feel like he is still going to be a hot coaching prospect. If not, then he's definitely will be some offensive coordinator somewhere that's going to need one. Maybe he goes to Washington, which I will explain their situation in a bit. But yeah, Stefanski is now out as the Browns head coach, and they'll be looking. The Browns are going to be looking for another replacement, which at least this time was the longest tenured in the current Browns. In the current Browns, this was the longest tenured head coach they had. Like, then the next firing is Las Vegas head coach Pete Carroll out after a 3-14 season. After a 3-14 season, and the Raiders having the number one overall pick in this year's NFL draft. I mean, as a Seattle fan, it's kind of those tough to see. It's kind of like a train wreck or a car wreck. It's like, like it's just like Pete Carroll in Seattle. We will have his fond memories where he won the championship, he won the Super Bowl, he won a college championship. So it just feels like, in a sense, it's just like it's sad to see Pete Carroll go, but he just wasn't great. Like, he just showed that he is outplayed, and I think it definitely. I feel like this time it finally showed that, hey, just because you bring in your former Seahawks with Geno Smith, Jamal Adams, even though Tyler Lockett, I still like him, but he's not that same Tyler Lockett, does not mean you're going to be set up to contend. Which, I mean, now the Raiders, John Spytek is still going to remain the GM. He's going to be looking for his second head coach, along with Tom Brady, of course. It's just those ones. It's just like, again, Pete Carroll. I think it might be his time is up. He's probably going to retire. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. Up next, the next firing we got was Jonathan Gannon of the Arizona Cardinals. 3 seasons there, all losing seasons, but it felt like there was potential for him, to rise up as the Cardinals head coach, especially last year where they finished the season at 8-9, looking like maybe there could be a potential dark horse playoff contender. They brought in some pieces like Josh Sweat, drafted Walter Nolan in the draft, looking like maybe the Cardinals could be a fun team to watch. Which at first they went 2-0. And then that's where it all fell down. They lost their next 5 straight games, and one of them was to the Tennessee Titans. It's just like, I don't know. This team definitely lost a lot of close games, and the Cardinals, I felt like they said that they were planning to keep him if the Cardinals were at least putting up a fight in the season. So if the record was maybe 6-11, maybe 7-10, I think Jonathan Gannon probably got one more shot of it. But now he's out the window after a 3-14 season in Arizona. I mean, I don't know how to this firing's something to me. It's just I mean, yeah, he wasn't doing great in Arizona, but it just felt like there was something in there. But now, I mean, now, again, he probably is going to be some defense coordinator, possibly, since he was the defense coordinator in Philadelphia before becoming the Cardinals head coach. I'm not sure what he will go to, but yes, next. But these are the head coaching firings for it, and the GM firings for sure. But for the Bengals, fortunately, I know you guys wanted Tobin and Zach Taylor fired, but they're going to stay in 2026 because, of course, they are. It's just, again, I know Thomas would be furious about this, but it's just like how how do you justify it? Again, but then again, it's like they kept Marvin Lewis for like over a decade, and for whatever reason, it's like, yes, you could say, oh, Joe Burrow was it, and it's like it's just such a lame excuse of being like, one because Joe Burrow got hurt. I'm like, okay. It still doesn't explain how bad your defense were. And I would have understood it if you guys had close games. You guys were still putting up a dogfight, which there was a couple times you were. But it's just like you're putting up a dogfight and you at least tried. I would have understood it. But no. There was no reason. And just Joe Burrow came back, it just felt like that was just like a false hope. That was just like a false hope fallacy there. And now this morning we did get some coordinator fighting, starting with defensive coordinator from the Dallas Cowboys, Matt Eberflus. He is now out of the Las Vegas Raiders job. Oh, sorry, the Dallas Cowboys job. And the Bears were really telling the Cowboys fans Matt Eberflus is not the defensive genius you think he is. I mean, granted, was it entirely his fault? It's not entirely his fault. Granted, probably he wanted Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons was probably definitely part of his game plan. And it seemed like there was a moment, maybe the Cowboys had something towards those 3-game stretch, being the Eagles, the Chiefs, and the Raiders during that mid-game stretch. But then it just fell down once again. But again, Cowboys are going to look for another defense coordinator now. And now, most recently, the Washington Commanders are going to move on from Cliff Kingsbury. They mutually part ways. It seems Cliff Kingsbury feels he's going to go on and take another job opportunity. And I take another job opportunity. And see if he becomes an OC somewhere. If not, maybe there's a chance he becomes a head coach for some team, since he's kind of been a head coaching prospect once again. I don't know why, but yeah. Then they did fire defensive coordinator Joe Witt. So now the Washington Commanders are going to go find some new set of coordinators. Hopefully, if not, then I think maybe next year. But I feel like it shows that Dan Quinn might be on the hot seat going to next season. So they don't do well next year, I think they're going to probably move on from Dan Quinn pretty quickly, despite making the NFC Championship game. Even then, it's like your roster was kind of built to just be a one-year show. Like, you had an aging roster, you signed a bunch of old veterans, which I think would have been fine if your young veterans were able to develop correctly, able to get something out of it. But no, we got nothing of that result. Which you can say, oh, JD5 was hurt, but no, there's something more. It's something more than that. But yes, so far, those are the current Black Monday firings as of this point in the NFL season. There's still, obviously, we're still going to look into whether or not Mike McDaniel will be fired. Is still unsure at the moment, but we have seen some requested interviews for teams already. So just right now, just got a notification saying that Anthony Weaver has been requested. Cardinals requested permission to interview Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver to do it, which I feel like that could be a good leadership role. There's some rumors about Tom Brady probably recruiting both Daboll and Flores to come to Vegas. So there's also that going around too. Robert Saleh is probably going to be in the coaching mix. The Giants are also going to look in that coaching mix as well. So there's going to be some teams that are going to be interesting. And right now, John Harbaugh, as of right now, has not been fired, since there's been some rumors about him too. But we'll see how this goes. But this is going to be an interesting head coaching cycle since now we have off six head coaching job offers to fill with the Giants, the Titans, the Browns, the Raiders, the Cardinals, and the and the Falcons. Sorry, the Falcons. Yeah. And with that, I'm gonna make some predictions how I think is gonna go, which they're most likely gonna be wrong. So don't really don't really if you ever do hear this, don't barge on this too much. But these are just predictions. I feel like again. Um, Starting with the first one, the Tennessee Titans, since they were the first team to fire their head coach and Brian Callahan this during the midseason after the Week 6 matchup, um, and I think it feels like they right now it looks like Matt Nagy is going to get interviewed. Um, Matt Nagy is going to get interviewed right now. Apparently, Vance Joseph could get interviewed. Vance Joseph interview and Cliff Kingsbury right now. There's probably even other coaches at the moment, but I feel like those, and I think Raheem Morris is also in that Tennessee Titans conversation as well, which we'll see how that goes. But if anything, it wouldn't surprise me. I feel like this is my prediction is going to be Mike McCarthy. I think they're probably going to look for a kind of offensive guy for Cam Ward. Maybe try to see if he develops quicker. Mike McCarthy, sure he's not like the sexiest option in the coaching cycle, but he's at least he's definitely could definitely get the offense to better what they did with Callahan for sure. It's just now it's just more of can you develop Cam Ward or not? That's gonna be the biggest question there for the Tennessee Titans and see if you could build around him. For the next one, for the New York Giants, I feel like there's two options I could go with here. First one, Rams defensive coordinator, Chris Shula. He's been kind of the hot prospect right now. He's been on talks as of right now. Of course, I think they're probably waiting for him until after the postseason to give him an interview, like probably all the other coordinators in the playoffs too. Then after that, my other option, which I feel like this one could be more likely, but I think it's Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo, which to be fair, Spagnuolo had time with the Giants in 2017 during the Ben McAdoo era, and he was the interim head coach at one point when they fired Ben McAdoo. So I could definitely see this being a like, hey, let's probably give Spagnuolo a shot since he was the head coach at one point for the LA Rams. Maybe he's learning something. Who knows? But hopefully that defense for the Giants could get better, which I definitely see this being that reason. Now for the Atlanta Falcons, and I think it's been kind of again. I feel like there's been some ideal rumors about Kevin Stefanski being the head coach for the Falcons, which I feel like that could be a great hire. But if I'm the guy, I honestly think Brian Flores will be the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, which I know it doesn't make sense. I think their defense has shown to it, and I feel like Brian Flores could definitely see this being like, hey, I see this defense, I could work with this, especially with James Pierce Jr. as looking like a premier edge rusher. I feel like he could take this opportunity as long as he probably finds the right offense coordinator for Michael Penix Jr. If not, then maybe if he goes to Vegas, then I wonder how he's going to see this quarterback situation. I wonder if he's going to see if him and Spytek will get along, see if they agree on Fernando Mendoza, or maybe they think of Dante Moore if he decides to declare for the draft. So there's also that too. But I think Brian Flores is my Falcons head coach prediction. Now for the Cleveland Browns. This one right now, Todd Monken has been requesting an interview for the Browns, which I feel like I can see that happening. But if my other, I feel like here's an option I don't want them to pick, and hopefully they don't, and that is Deion Sanders. I it just feels like it would be the most Browns thing to do to be like, well, if we are thinking that Shooter is going to be the quarterback for next year, hopefully they don't think that Deion Sanders would be the guy to do so. Uh, now, but I feel like the option I really think that could likely happen to me. I feel like there's not really much candidates I could see for the Browns other than maybe Todd Monken, like they said, Clint Kubiak, the Seahawks, the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks, and Clint Kubiak. Maybe there's probably going to be more head coaching interviews anyway, but if I have to choose someone, um, I think this one, I could see this one being with Andrew Berry staying at the GM role. I definitely could see this one being a promotion within, and that is defensive coordinator for the Cleveland. That's current defensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns in Jim Schwartz. I think Andrew Berry will like someone that he's familiar with. He's probably like, hey, if like his defenses are great. Like his defenses are great, and he has. I mean, his coaching experience was with the Detroit Lions when that infamous 0-16 season. But I mean, who knows? This they could probably give him another shot, and I definitely see this being. I don't know why. I think for the Browns, they're probably looking at it, and maybe I'm not sure. There's some coaching candidates who are interested in the Cleveland Browns coach's position. Who knows? But I think, if anything, I definitely see a promotion within with Jim Schwartz. I don't know why. I think that's just the way I see this going. And then the Las Vegas Raiders, again, rumored that Brian Flores and Brian Daboll could go head to head since they were once in New England before, and Brady is familiar with those guys. But I'm gonna go with an interesting route here. I think Robert Saleh of the San Francisco 49ers, I feel like might take the Vegas role. I feel like if Brian Flores go to does not go to does not go to Vegas, I think Robert Saleh could be that fit. Their Jets was something. I mean, it felt like it was probably by 2023. It felt like that it was the Aaron Rodgers show at that point. It was the Aaron Rodgers show at that point by when it was the 2023 season. He's a great defensive guy. Even though this past year with the Niners defense, I think with the injuries, he still managed to do something with it. So I think even with the injuries, he still managed to do something with it. And I feel like with the Raiders, maybe he could be the reason Max Crosby stays because he knows that he saw what we can do with Nick Bosa. He saw what we can do with the Jets defense from the Jets defense when he was the head coach there. Then I feel like this could be a shot that the Raiders defense could be locking and loading since that defense has just been awful for a long time. Even with Max Crosby, even with pieces they have, they've just not been as great as they expect them to be. Now the offense will just be in question if Robert Saleh is willing to be interested in Fernando Mendoza. That's also another question. That's also another thing in mind. But yes, now for the Arizona Cardinals head coaching position, I'm the last head coaching position. This one's weird. I don't know what the Cardinals have. Apparently, they so far have requested interviews for. Here they have the. Okay, so I know the Cardinals have requested an interview for Vance Joseph. Yes, Vance Joseph, who was the previous Cardinals head coach for I think 2 seasons, if I recall, because I know Steve Wilkes was the coach for the 2018 season. And why? I mean, granted, Vance Joseph, like, he's a good defensive-minded coach, but I don't think he's that type of guy where he's just like, I feel like he's those just one that's just like, he's a good coordinator, but I don't think he's a great coach. Why are you bringing back Vance Joseph? I get it, like, well, he has time to learn. He's with Sean Payton. I don't see I don't see the appeal with Vance Joseph. I mean, Anthony Weaver, I get it more. I feel like he definitely could be like a culture guy. Definitely a guy that probably either will see if he wants to keep Kyler Murray around. Who knows? Uh, who knows what happens there? If anything, I feel like Kevin Stefanski could be the best spot for him. Maybe Stefanski's willing to be like, hey, I'm either going to give Kyler one more shot, or he could probably look at 2027, look at the 2027 class, and be like, okay, if Kyler's not the guy, at least I would have maybe a stronger draft class for 2027. Because after that, it's like who, and even then, it's like you can look at free agency or whoever's quarterback that could be hot, which you can say, oh, there's Malik Willis. There's Malik Willis. There's Daniel Jones, a potential free agent, probably the best free agent option right now. You have Mac Jones with the Niners for another year. They could possibly trade him. Who knows on that one? Maybe there's some. I'm not sure they're willing to take Tua if they're just getting ready to hire, but I feel like they just kind of. It just feels like they didn't really make a difference if they do that. But yeah, right now. But we'll see how it goes. That's my head coaching predictions. I think, and my Black Monday results. Um, yeah. Now I'm gonna not really, even though I normally every week I like to recap the games, but I think I'm just gonna recap the key important games going into week 18. First one being Panthers Buccaneers, game on the line. Panthers, either they win this game, they're in, or if they lose, they would have to rely on the Falcons to win the game. And with the Buccaneers, they needed to win, plus the Saints had to beat the Falcons. And Saturday Night Football, ugly game. Ugly game. Panthers try to come back, but yeah, there were some very questionable calls you can say, but it's still, I don't know, that flea flicker the Panthers did in the rain, that really did bite him in the butt. I felt like the Panthers had opportunities to win that game, but they didn't come close. They didn't come close to it, but Buccaneers won that game. Now, I'll get back, continuing on without, I guess, with that. Now we get the Saints Falcons with now the division on the line. It was a decent game in general. It didn't matter for the maybe it did matter for a little bit for both the teams. The Falcons probably get a win, so Raheem Morris see if Raheem Morris would have kept his job. Spoiler, obviously he did not. And you have of course the Saints. I felt like they wanted to get a culture win. I mean, they're already out of the number one draft position. Might as well win to get something, just to have some positive, to at least end something positive on the regular season. I mean, Kellen Moore definitely, for what he definitely did enough for what the talent they have. It's just now I feel like you have to move on from these aging players, though. Alvin Kamara, it sounds like to him, he's like, hey, either I'm going to stay in New Orleans or I'm going to retire. Even if they trade him, even if they do trade him, I feel like as soon as he gets traded, he's just going to announce his retirement. I'm not saying that is in any case true, but it just feels like that's the energy that was going to happen there. Then, of course, Cam Jordan, even though he had a great season as an edge rusher, but still, it's those moments like, hey, we got to get younger. We have a potential franchise quarterback in Tyler Shuck. If we keep developing him, he could be a great quarterback. Spencer Rattler, he's going to be a decent backup. That's what we're going to get out of him. He's definitely going to be a decent backup. But anyways, the Falcons pulled off the win, which that means in the first time since the 2015 season, first time in 10 years, the Carolina Panthers will win the NFC South. And then this will also be their first playoff appearance since 2017, during the Cam Newton days. Now Now, I'm going to give my thoughts on the Panthers for a quick second, but let's give congrats to the Carolina Panthers. Get proud to Dave Canales. Like, yes, I know this. Now, I guess is where my thoughts go in. I know the Panthers end their season at 8-9, which now for the second season in a franchise career, they'll win division with the losing record. That is something to see, and this will be the fifth team in NFL history to fifth team in NFL history to make the playoffs with the losing record too. But uh, now, now this Panthers definitely had a season. Better, definitely. This was their better seasons for sure. Granted, I'll give them that. After. Hold on. Give me a second. All right. Sorry about that. But, anyways, so back to the Panthers. I mean, this season was definitely a better season for Carolina. One of their best seasons they had in a bit in terms of what they've seen before with, them just looking pretty bad or just very bad with their 2-15 season in 2023, looking like Bryce is a bust. Now, Bryce has shown that he can play at a pretty good level, but then there are games that he's shown that he shows back to his 2023 form, which this season, the Panthers' definition, they've been inconsistent. Like, they'll win games that, like, it felt like they should have not won, but then they won games that they did win. So, it's those moments you're just thinking, like, what Panthers team is going to show up in this playoffs, or when they face the Rams, are they gonna be the team that we saw that they beat in Week 13, or are they gonna be the team that will just get destroyed in the first round, like everyone expects them to be? Who knows? But congrats to the Carolina Panthers. Now, the next game, Saturday Night Football, the Seattle Seahawks in a must win game to get not only the NFC West title since 2020 but the number one seed since 2014. Seattle Seahawks came into Santa Clara and put the Niners to just only 3 points. Seattle felt like they should have had more points. I know I'll be referring to the Jason Myers two missed field goals, granted, but Seattle in a proven game, they did it. They got the number one seed. They got the NFC West. Thomas did get that prediction correct. Congrats to him. But yes, the Seattle Seahawks won the NFC West champions. Let's go. Now, this game was pretty sluggish for the most part. I mean, I'm happy that Seattle's defense hold down Christian McCaffrey, and especially Christian McCaffrey had some butterfingers that led to a Drake Thomas interception, and that pretty much felt like that was the end of the game, but I was still waiting until the clock hit 0 to make sure it's official so nothing happens. But yes, the Seattle Seahawks won 13-3, will now be having a first round bye, which beneficial. Hopefully some players come back to it, we get some rest, and hopefully be ready on whoever we face next after this weekend. Now, let me just get this out of the way. The AFC South, the Texans won their game. Just to solidify either a playoff spot, but unfortunately, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh, not unfortunately, but the Jacksonville Jaguars won the AFC South for the first time since 2022, ending the season with a 13-4 record. And I gotta make an apology here. I like to apologize to Thomas for not believing the Jaguars will win the AFC South. Texans. One game. You could have done it. One game. But okay, whatever. Congratulations to the Jacksonville Jaguars for winning the AFC South. There we go. Now, the Broncos won in a ugly game against the Chargers backups, and they got the first round bye. That first time since 2013. This team does not. The Broncos. I mean, their defense is great, but again, their offense just doesn't show me why they could make the Super Bowl. But I'll get to my playoff predictions in a moment. But yes, the number one seed on the line. But then the final game to look at was the AFC North Bowl. The AFC North Bowl between the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this game started off, sluggish at first. It looked like the Ravens were going to take care of business. Derrick Henry was dominating, but then once again, John Harbaugh did not utilize Derrick Henry enough in the second half in a very crucial game. Lamar Jackson played great that second half. He did everything he can to get that game, but it wasn't enough. Aaron Rodgers had vintage Aaron Rodgers in that second half too. Played great in that second half of the game, and the lead went to 26-24 after Chris Boswell missed an extra point, and now it was the Ravens. They got themselves a great return. They were moving the ball, and on a big fourth down, Isaiah Likely, big catch, put him first down to put him in field goal range to look like this was the game, and apparently of all the end zones, a priest put some holy water on the Steelers' end zones to hopefully get them to win. And that field goal where that end zone with the holy water was, Tyler Loop missed a 44-yard kick, giving Aaron Rodgers his potential last dance in the NFL by winning the AFC North for the first time since 2020. We're going to see Aaron Rodgers in the playoff, folks. So the Super Bowl has gone, the playoffs have gone interesting. But with that being said, Ravens, this was a season for you. This was a season that you were favored to be a Super Bowl champion, or a Super Bowl favorite. You blew your lead versus Buffalo week 1. You had some rough losses during the stretch. You look like we're making a comeback. They started to fall down every now and again. And the game that killed you was, I would say, not the Steelers game, was the Sunday night game 2 weeks ago versus the New England Patriots when you blew that 11-point lead. Baltimore, I feel like everyone's, I think it's time. There's always, yes, I know it's like John Harbaugh giving us winning seasons, but it sounds like a Pittsburgh move. This is the some things moments. It's like, the risk at this point, this is the risk at times. Is like, well, what if we lose? See, that's the risk you're going to have to take. Like Seattle, they fired Pete Carroll, even though he's been giving us winning seasons, but we have not really done much to get over the hump. Even we make some pieces, but when we hired Mike Macdonald, your former defensive coordinator, he changed the culture. He changed everything. He wanted to make it his own team and not make it a Pete Carroll team that he inherited. And now the Seahawks are 14-3. Sound familiar, Ravens? With a first round bye with the number 1 seed. Like it's those moments you gotta do it. Even though John Harbaugh has done a lot for the Ravens organization, but it's time. Right now, he's still here. So there's probably a chance he might get one more year. And if they probably miss the postseason once again, then I could definitely see this one being the year where they let him go. But as of right now, Ravens, you have some questions to think about in the future. But now, with everything, with Week 18, with Black Monday, with the Pistons being the number 1 team in the East, and, oh yeah, by the way, Charlotte, how did you beat the Thunder convincingly? I don't know how y'all do it. I know the Thunder were dealing with some injuries, but still even questions life in general. But anyways, let's now officially get to NFL playoff predictions. I'll do my wildcard predictions. And I'm gonna pretend to be Thomas and Anthony for their wildcard predictions, but I will make my NFL playoff predictions along the way too. So let's begin. Starting with Saturday afternoon football. We got the on Saturday afternoon. We got the Carolina Panthers making their playoff debut since 2017. Their NFC South title, their first home playoff game since 2015. Since that 2015 NFC Championship game. We'll be hosting the LA Rams. This season has been on something. All right? Last time these two teams met, the Carolina Panthers pulled off the upset with a game-winning touchdown. And then with that big fumble turnover caused by Carolina, getting the fumble recovery and eventually winning the game also helped too. Now, this game's interesting. I know the Rams are still a hot team, but the last couple weeks they've been kind of sluggish. Ever since they lost to Seattle, they've been kind of sluggish, especially losing to the Falcons on Monday night with that upset. I mean, you are going to get Devontae Adams back. You are going to get a couple key guys back, so there is that. But again, I think this game might be closer than what people are thinking. I could see the blowout. I see the Rams blowing out the Panthers, but this game could have potential upsets. Could be potential something there. So, but for the Rams, they should not overlook the Panthers because again, even though their last two games they lost, but there's at times we've shown that the Panthers could rise up to the occasion. So, but with that being said, I am still going to pick the LA Rams to win this game. So I'm going to pick the LA Rams to win this game. Meanwhile, for Thomas, I mean, he sees this. The Rams 12-5 record. They lost two straight games in week 16, week 17. And I'm thinking, in his mind, I feel like in his mind, he will pick the Carolina Panthers for the major upset. I think if Thomas was right here, he would do that. Next one. The next one for Anthony, I think he's going to pick the Rams. I think in his mind, I don't think the Panthers will do it the second time around. But yeah. Up next, we got Packers, Bears, Saturday Night Football on Amazon Prime. These two have been, the two matchups they face, absolute cinema. The Packers getting the win week 14 at Lambeau Field, ending with a Caleb Williams interception by Keyshawn Nixon. The Bears had a chance to tie that game. They had that chance, but unfortunately it ended the way it did. And the Packers, and that was the Packers' last win. That was their 9th win, and they lost. And I think they have lost some games since then, because I think they were 9-3-1, and they lost 4 straight games. Granted, they've been dealing with injuries, especially Micah Parsons going down to playoffs. The Chicago Bears, a team that no one expected for them to be in the playoffs. Maybe a dark horse wild contender, but no one expected them to win the NFC North. A team that pretty much been on a cardiac type season. Either they win in close games, they come back. They come back, especially week 16, which let's go to this game. The Bears, they were down 16-6 with the 2-minute warning to 16-6. And they wasted it to the 2-minute warning to get the record to 16-9, which that means the Bears would have to make an onside kick. They recovered the onside kick. And in a big 4th down play, Caleb Williams, touchdown, Jay Walker, overtime. Packers had a chance to probably close the game up. Fumbled in their first drive. Bears got the ball back. Guess what? Deep pass to DJ Moore to solidify the game, winning 22-16. It's just these games Even though, despite what the Packers are injuries, why what the Bears should be the better team, we know these games are going to be ugly. These games are going to be these games are going to duke it out with these NFC North rivals. But there's a quote from Ben Johnson, as he said during his press conference when he got hired to the Chicago Bears. He likes to beat Matt LaFleur twice a year, and he has that opportunity for it to do it this season. With that being said, I will be going with the Chicago Bears. No Bears. And for my colleague Thomas, he will choose the Green Bay Packers because for reasons I cannot explain. But yes, he will probably choose the Green Bay Packers. But for Anthony, this is interesting. I see him going either way for this one because this is just a this is just a divisional matchup game. Third time's the charm. It's tough to play these matchups. Like you don't know what to expect. You don't know what to feel. But for that, I'm letting him pick I think he's gonna pick the Bears. I'm gonna just kind of go based on the favorite for the game. So I think it should be the Bears. Now Sunday morning or Sunday early afternoon for your East Coast people, for the East Coasters. We have the Buffalo Bills not winning the division, but being a wildcard team and traveling to Jacksonville in an early Sunday game. Sound familiar? Look, this game is something. I don't know what to feel going to this game. I really think this game is definitely going to go either way, but I'm going to go with these. The Buffalo Bills. The Bills started off hot, 4-0, but of course ended up going 8-5 the rest of the way, which the Bills team is not bad. They're not a bad team, but it doesn't feel like they feel more of a Super Bowl contender this time around. But this is the year for Buffalo. This is it. Of course, January football records kind of don't fully matter as much. It's a matter of who is hot and who is not. And they're going against a team that is hot, the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars, for a good portion of the season, they were pretty inconsistent. I know what the record were during those first 12, 13 weeks, but they never really impressed me on offense at first. Their offense was very inconsistent. One week, they looked like they were going to finally turn up. And then the next week, they just go back to being like, okay, this is the Jaguars offense I've seen the last 2-3 years already, where they just don't look great, but they don't look horrible either. And now this time, ever since week 13, they've been hot. They've been on a tear. They won those 5 straight games. Hot. Their offense, they're finally clicked. The offense looked amazing. Their defense is great. Like this is, I would say, if there's any team in the AFC, I would say would be the most complete team, it would be the Jacksonville Jaguars. And they are just even a game behind the Denver Broncos, who they did beat convincingly in Mile High. And again, you have the Bills. They have the playoff experience for the last 7 straight seasons. They've been in this area before with Josh Allen. But it's just more, can their rushing defense hold on to Travis Etienne and Tuden? Time will tell. But with that being said, even though I like the Buffalo Bills, I feel like it should be their year. But if they were facing maybe any other team other than the Jaguars, I would have picked them. But with that, I'm going with the Jaguars winning this game. I mean, again, this game could go either way. Jaguars, this is Trevor Lawrence's second time in the postseason. This is his 3rd playoff game. So, who knows? We'll see how that goes. But yes. Now, Thomas, I think he's going to, even though I feel like he would want to pick the Bills, but I think to him, we're going to let his AFC South Jaguars, the AFC South champion, rise, and we're going to let him pick the Jaguars. And with Anthony, I'm going to give him the Bills. I'm gonna give the Bills for Anthony. I just so we can have something different and may not be fully guaranteed every time. Anyways, on to Niners, Eagles. The Niners, 2020 and the 2021 seasons are very similar to what we've seen with the 2024 season and the 2025 season. 2020, they were injured so bad that they went from first to worst. 2024, they got injured so bad they got from first to worst. 2025, they bounced back. 10-7 record, wild card spot, 6th seed against an NFC East team. 2025, bounced back a bit. They got some injuries like 2021, but they still bounced back pretty good. 12-5 record, 6th seed, playing an NFC East team. Now, the Niners are definitely a team that could be that are definitely going to be a team that's not going to be not an easy team to write off. They're definitely going to make it tough for you, no matter who is against. It could be against the Rams. It could be against the Bears. It could be against the Packers. It could be against any of these NFC teams. So it's not going to be an easy game for if you are Philly. But speaking with Philly, your offense. It's not. You won your NFC East. Congratulations. When the Cowboys were not looking great, the Giants were terrible, and the Commanders, their roster caught up to them, and injuries caught up to them. So, you won your NFC East. Congratulations, but it's just your defense is still great, but can you hold enough to Christian McCaffrey to win this game? We'll see. Meanwhile, the Eagles' offense just hasn't looked great. I don't know how can you mess up a game plan with Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley. I don't know how can you butcher that up with based on how Kellen Moore did last year. Kellen Moore was the OC. The Eagles probably would be a lot better. Eagles would definitely be a lot better if Kellen Moore was still there. But now, looking at this game, 3rd and 6th seed, I don't know what it is. I think the Niners defense has been a bit terrible. I feel like this game could low-key be a shootout. And I think it's going to be fly, Eagles fly. Give me the Eagles for the win. Now for Thomas, I'm gonna let him pick the Eagles. So the Niners, because even though he hates the Eagles as well, but I think he would probably eliminate the Niners even more. And for Anthony, I know he's doing. He's a sad Giants fan, but he wants to see his ops burn. He is going to go with the San Francisco 49ers to win this game. All right. Now, the final 2 games of wildcard weekend. We got the Chargers and the Patriots. Both teams, the Chargers, I think we would trust them a lot more if their offensive line was a lot healthier. Otherwise, I think this team probably would have had a chance to win the AFC West and likely host a playoff game as a first-round bye team. Meanwhile, the Patriots, they have some questions of themselves. They ended the season with 14-3. Mike Vrabel turned the team around, which is impressive. It is impressive, but now people are questioning: would they win these games because of the schedule they had? Because they played the Jets twice, they played the Dolphins twice. I mean, they were going to play those eventually. It's because I think they played the Browns, they played the Panthers, they played the NFC South in general, which was pretty weak. So it's just more, and of course their big win would be against Buffalo, of course, in week 5 or 6. I forgot when was that game, but New England with potentially another MVP candidate in Drake May could pull this win. Meanwhile, the Chargers, a team that was hot at first, started off 3-0, especially with that roster they had. I think that roster was probably going to be a Super Bowl contender, but their old line's been banged up. I mean, Joe Alt is apparently rumored to come back. Same with Rashawn Slater, but I'm not sure if I heard that one correctly. But I'm not sure they'll be back for this playoff game. maybe the next one, or hopefully by the AFC Championship game if they make it this far. But I don't know. This is I feel like the Chargers. I think they knew what they were doing when they rested players. They knew that they. I think they knew in their heart that if they had won a game, they were going to go play the Jaguars or go play the Houston Texans if the Jaguars lost. And I think they knew that the Patriots were probably their best opponent to face. Even though their defense is still pretty good, it's just now can they can they can they pull it off? I mean, their defense is. I mean, can they pull it off? But I think as much as I want to say the Chargers, I do think they could get this win. This game's probably gonna be very close, but I if this was a healthy old line, I think I would have probably been more confident with the Chargers. But I think the Patriots are going to pull it off in a close matchup. I think the record, I'm thinking 28-24 as my prediction for this game. But give me the Patriots for the win. Now, the next one, Monday Night. Oh, yeah, hold on, let me get Thomas. I'm not sure for that one. I think, I'm I'm going to coin flip both Anthony and Thomas for this game, since I don't know what the feeling they would pick. But hats for the Patriots, tails for the Chargers. Here we go. First one, Thomas I guess we'll give him the Patriot spot. So there's that. And for Anthony, he will get the LA Chargers. So we'll give him the Chargers spot. Now, the final game, a wild card weekend. We have the Texans Steelers on Monday Night Football. This is potentially the Steelers. Could they do it? I feel like if this is the year to win a playoff game for the first time in almost 10 years, this would be it for Mike Tomlin. This would be the moment. But I feel like if they win a playoff game, I feel like that's the worst case scenario. I feel like they'll keep Mike Tomlin for another 10 years if they win this playoff game. But they lose, it just feels like it's like the same season as we said the last few years, where they're like, oh, yeah, they pulled it off, but guess what? They don't know what to do. Meanwhile, the Houston Texans, their defense, superb. Top five. Top five in the league. But their offense definitely is a question mark. Can their offense be serviceable? Or at least, if not slightly above average, to do enough to get the win, not only for the Steelers, but for the rest of the playoffs, including the Super Bowl? That is the question for the Houston Texans. As much as I want to believe this Texans team, and I do, it's still kind of tough to gauge with that offense. That Steelers, though, they have probably the Blood Demon Magic on their side, or the Priest on their side for whatever reason. They probably if they make the Super Bowl, it's likely maybe this is for the Aaron Rodgers last dance. So we'll see how that one goes. But with that being said, I think I will be taking the Houston Texans. Thomas will be taking also the Houston Texans. I think if this is our only guarantee, I think it'll be this game. I think this is a game where I think this is it. I think this is it for the Steelers. I think this is where the magic ends. That's where it is. So that's wild card predictions, at least for this one. But here's the rest of my playoff predictions. With that being said, normally I would have everyone. Normally we would put it up to maybe a vote, like 2 of 3, or best 2 of 3 here. But since it's just me around, it's gonna be just solely my playoff predictions. But since I started with my wild card predictions, I am gonna lock in with Patriots at the 2 seed, and they will play Jacksonville. And the Texans will go on and play Denver. Texans. And meanwhile, the NFC side, uh, I put the 2 seed Bears will move on to play against the 3 seed Eagles. Meanwhile, the 5 seed Rams will go ahead and will face the Seahawks and the NFC division round. Will be a rematch of last week's game or Week 16's game. But here we go. My divisional round predictions: Texans and the Broncos. I already mentioned Texans. Let me just go straight with the Broncos. The Broncos. It's kind of similar to the Texans, honestly. Their defense, great defense, but they have shown to get exposed from time to time. Meanwhile, it's shown from every now and again, but usually very solid front. Meanwhile, their offense, they have not shown me any way that they could be a team to do it. They win very close games similar to the Bears, but the way they do it, it just like I don't know whether to trust them. And there was like at one point, if you flip the 1-score games, and I know it's like, oh, it's if, buts, and if, would have, should have, could have, but it's those ones like, okay, they flip those games. The Broncos would be 4-12, or I guess 5-12 with no 1-score game since they won against the Chargers in 2-score fashion. But it's just those ones you're just thinking like, how does Broncos team make it so far? It's just like Sean Payton, you give him props to it. Vance Joseph, amazing coordinator. I'm not sure, but I don't think he deserves a coaching job. But that's not here and there. Now, I know last time the Texans played, C.J. Stroud got hurt and Davis Mills went in, and he tried, which eventually Davis Mills did win 3 straight games afterwards as a starter. But I feel like this is a year for the Texans, since they're not playing the Chiefs this year, or the Ravens, or any other like team that's like would be like dead set, like this is it. I think this will be it, and I think for the first time in franchise history, and even then, Texans are also hot. Ever since they lost to the Broncos that game, they have won 9 straight games, went 3-5 to 12-5. So there's also that, and I think it still continues. I think I'm gonna say the Texans will face each other in the AFC Championship game. I think that's what's gonna happen. The Texans will go on to the AFC Championship game. Meanwhile, Patriots, Jaguars. Again, both up-and-coming teams. They looked pretty good. We already said this before. Patriots, they won this game. Maybe this is like they're saying like, hey, like we can still be in the dance. The Jaguars, they won their game. They're like, hey, let's see if we could do better than the division round, like our last playoff appearance. And I know last time these two teams met in 2017, the AFC Championship game. Both teams are very different, especially at the quarterback position. And again, I have mentioned this before. In the AFC, the Jaguars have looked very complete. And with that, I think the Jaguars are very hot. The Patriots are hot, but I think the Jaguars have shown they can do it. And I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be hosting the AFC Championship game against the Houston Texans. Now, the NFC side. Before I get to C, I'll say Bears, Eagles. They met this past season. Bears, dominant win. Very convincing win against the Eagles. They kind of showed a bit why they can do it. The Bears are dealing with injuries, even probably more than the last time they faced, which means the Eagles could take advantage of it. But their offense, the Eagles' offense, again, like I mentioned before, very questionable. The Bears' defense, very questionable since dealing with injuries. I but I think this game, being in Chicago, being in the Windy City, I do think the Chicago Bears will be making their first appearance in the NFC Championship game since the 2010-11 season. Give me the Bears. I know Thomas is in somewhere going to be like boo, but that's how I see it. I think the Bears, at least if they don't face the Niners, if the Bears, as long as they probably don't face the Niners, maybe if they don't face the Rams, they have a shot. But yeah, give me the Chicago Bears to make the NFC Championship game. Now the Seahawks, Rams. You already know who my favorite team is. You already know who my team is. But let's go with breakdown this. Both these teams met both times this year. It's split. Both these teams could either swept each other or the split would have been reverse. That the Rams lose in LA but win in Seattle. Seattle, amazing comeback. That 16-point comeback. I know there's that 2-point conversion play to be looked at, but again, they're definitely going to duke it out. This Mike McDonald, first time in the post, or I guess first time as a head coach in the postseason, first playoff game as a head coach, but he's been in the dance before in Baltimore. So again, this is nothing new to him, and he's been in the 1 seed as defensive coordinator. And I think their defense, with the rest they're going to get, the rest they're going to need. They're not doing this on a short week 2. I think Seattle, as long as Sam Darnold does not, as long as he makes his mistakes either minimal or 0 mistakes, Seattle's going to have a chance. And I think if Clint Kubiak learns how to finally get the playbook going, the offense rolling like we did the first half of the season, Seattle's going to be a dangerous team. And that being said, I'm picking the Seattle Seahawks. I know I got to go with the spiel, but I got to break it down. All right? Now the AFC Championship game between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. The Texans, first time in the AFC Championship game in their franchise existence. The Jacksonville Jaguars back to the AFC Championship game, first time since 2017. Both teams, division rival game, for sure. They have split the series. The Jaguars put up a pretty convincing performance in that week early slate. Back, I think it was week 3, I remember. I think that was their third loss. Meanwhile, the Houston Texans came back from a 19-point deficit with Davis Mills being the starting quarterback and ended off with a pick 6 by Sheldon Rankins. To solidify the game whatsoever. It's those games you're like, it can go either way. The Jaguars, like I said, the last few times, the Jaguars are the most complete team. But the Texans defense can give Trevor Lawrence a nightmare. And I think if I'm correct, that was, I think, the last time the Jaguars lost a game was that game. Because I know they lost to the Seahawks week 6. I know they lost to the Rams in London. The Texans, like I said. I forgot who was the final team. I know it was an early season opponent. I like this. Not the Colts. They just recently played twice. Not the Titans. Was it? Who did the Jaguars? It wasn't the Niners. They beat the Niners. I remember that. Not the Cardinals. It has to be an AFC team. It was the Bengals, right? Week 2, the Jaguars, where they still couldn't get it together at the moment. They lost to essentially to Jake Browning. I know there's maybe some questionable calls, but still, the Jaguars just blew their opportunity so bad against the against the Bengals. But I I think it's just like again, it feels like both teams are hot. They both went on a winning streak. That was the Texans' first win of that winning streak. That was the Jaguars' last loss and went on a winning streak. So both these teams being on fire says something. Like D'Amico Ryans, at least in my prediction, will make the AC Championship game, and it's tough. I see this one being either way, but I think if I have to go with this being a home field playoff game for the Jaguars, I'm gonna pick the Jaguars. If this was in Houston, I might have I might have picked the Texans going to Santa Clara, but give me the Jaguars to make the Super Bowl. Now, the NFC, Bears, Seahawks. Bears, amazing season by them. If this prediction goes, they win both the wild card and the NFC divisional round, being the NFC championship first time since 2010, winning their first playoff game, I think, since 2010, if I remember, because I know what happened last time when they were in the playoffs as a wild card team, or not as a wild card team, but as the division winner playing the wild card. Um, but I think this is where the train ends. Like I think Seattle, their roster is just a lot better. The Bears could likely get some players back. The Bears do lead the league in turnovers, so this game could be close if they pick off Sam Darnold maybe once or twice. But I think being in Seattle in a tough environment like this, I think Mike McDonald has changed the culture enough to believe that Seattle can make it all the way to the Super Bowl. So with that being said, Seahawks are going to go back to Santa Clara, but not for a Week 18 matchup versus the Niners. Super Bowl. Now, my Super Bowl prediction. Jaguars, Seahawks. They have actually played this year. So, funny enough, and I think this was the most forgettable game for both teams. Jaguars. This was when their offense was still back when their offense was still pretty Their defense, Seattle's defense though, played great. They showed they can do it. And I don't think they played Drew Lock in that game, but they definitely still held up. The Jaguars defense definitely did held up a little bit. I mean, it was a close game at halftime when it was going on, but then eventually Seattle outplayed them. They did better on offense, knows how to do it, and both teams are pretty different ever since, are kind of a bit different ever since if they do meet up. And now we got another firing before I continue with my winner. We have firing John Morton, the OC for the Detroit Lions, is fired after one season, which goes to show that Ben Johnson was really a big, huge factor in Detroit. Same with Aaron Glenn, despite even how his season ended off. But yeah. But yes, the Jaguars, Seahawks. I think this one's going to be a fun matchup. I think this one's going to be a battle of defenses. Both offenses are going to try to figure out their way. Can Clint Kubiak? And this is what I think. Seattle will make it far on how. I think a lot of people will say, oh, Seattle will make it far based on how Sam Darnold will play. No. Seattle will make it far on how Clint Kubiak coaches. Clint Kubiak will either be the reason why we'll make a Super Bowl, or the reason why we'll win games, or he'll be the reason why we're gonna lose games. So we'll see how it goes. But of course, with this, my winner of the Super Bowl this year is gonna be the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah, I know. I don't care. Call me a homer. Call me biased. But I believe in this team. This has been the best team I have seen. This is the team I feel more confident in since more confident than the 2020 Seahawks. More confident than what I saw in 2019 and 2018. Like, this team has shown that the changes the last couple seasons have been worth it. This could have it like during the whole off season. Seattle was so slept on, overlooked, being like, "Oh, Sam Darnold, 1 year wonder." Oh, they traded DK Metcalf. They cut Tyler Lockett. Like they cut Tyler Lockett. This team is this team's not gonna this team's gonna go last. This team's not gonna win not that many games. They they've been proving the doubters wrong almost every single time. Sam Darnold cannot win big games. He cannot beat the Rams. Aside from 2020, oh oh they're gonna crumble like they did. They're gonna crumble this year. They're gonna crumble in Week 18 like they did in like Sam Darnold did with the Vikings back from last season. Guess what? They're wrong. Mike McDonald has full belief, and I think that's what we're gonna need. But your Super Bowl 60 champion is the Seattle Seahawks. And the Seattle Seahawks also have something too. Every time a Pope is elected, the Seahawks win a Super Bowl. And the Seahawks win a Super Bowl. Or not, well, at least make the Super Bowl. But 2005, Pope elected, Super Bowl appearance. 2013, Pope elected, Super Bowl appearance. 2025, Pope elected. Who knows? I know there's some other teams too being like, well, the Panthers and Broncos are in the playoffs once again. So they could be, and it's in Santa Clara. And Ohio State's won a championship last year, and J-Lo got divorced. So we could see Panthers Broncos. Who knows? Well, there's a lot on the line, but that is everything. Those are my wild card predictions. Those are everything I'm going to talk about. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hearing my ramblings and so on and so forth. But y'all have a good week. Y'all have a great day now. Go Pistons. Go Seahawks. Let's end this stream with a clap. Knicks, you suck. Knicks.